Those millions, Sam Silverstein was starting successful businesses way back in college. Since then, he's generated more than $100 million in sales. He's helped 60,000 people who subscribe to his newsletter make millions, but you're getting all the knowledge and experience.
Accountability is the highest form of leadership because accountability is a commitment between people. It's a commitment from the leader to those people around them first, and then an inspired commitment in return. Don't make or accept excuses. Don't make excuses when you fail, and definitely don't accept them from others either.
That's what leadership is. It's taking the responsibility for the people you lead. You have the ability to impact their life beyond a surface level.
Accountability in a culture inspires creativity and innovation and openness to change. And when organizations are creative, innovative, and they're willing to change, they leave the competition behind.
I want to share a view of accountability that is different from probably anything you've ever heard.
A great set of values will lead to a great organizational culture.
Oh yeah, you know what I'm talking about. 10 books later and a whole bunch of other stuff is passed through, but my focus is on accountability because what I discovered is that accountability is the foundation for becoming the best that we can become, both individually, but also as an organization.
The rules of business haven't changed. It's the field that we're playing on that has changed. Now, more than ever, leadership needs to get it right because leadership is what brings us through tough times. And accountability is the characteristic that will create sustainability today and enable acceleration as we move forward tomorrow.
And we are live.
Sam, how are you doing today, man?
I'm amazing, Victor. It's great to be here with you.
Accountability is not a way of doing. Accountability is a way of thinking, and specifically, it's how we think about people. I hate it when a leader says, this isn't personal, this is business. Every interaction between human beings is personal.
Good leaders always turn to the people they know that will have the right answer, right? They affect your life beyond the surface level. Along the way, you will discover there's some few bonuses that I've planted in there for you that I think will bring a lot of excitement. I'll see you on the inside. Well, hello and welcome. I am excited to be back with you, and it is Wednesday afternoon at 3 o'clock Eastern Time, and that is when we live stream. Every other Wednesday, we are here. I have lots to share with you. It's a great opportunity to want to catch up. I hope that everyone had a fantastic holiday season. I hope that you had the ability to stay safe and at the same time to connect with family and loved ones and those people that we really want to make sure that we are staying connected to. And so at any rate, I want to start off and say Happy New Year. I've got some things planned for you. Before we get going, if you're on Facebook, it's just a reminder here that if you go to StreamYard.com/Facebook, then what happens when you make your comments on Facebook, if you're in the group, then those comments actually can show up and I see them. LinkedIn, they pretty much automatically flow through. YouTube, they flow through. And so what happens is I get to see your comments and then deal with it. Gary, I saw your comment. Music's loud. The music level is probably a little bit more upbeat, so you might need to crank the volume down on the front end. But then once we come on, it's going to stay consistent. We're not going to hit you with anything that's too loud or going to be over the top. So no worries there, but I do appreciate the feedback. And anyone that is watching would love to know where you're watching from, want to know who's here, where you are. Always like to touch base. Gary, appreciate you being here. I know some of you actually, a lot of you get this live, but then a lot of you see it afterwards in the recorded state, either on YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn. Either way, leave your comments, leave your thoughts, enter your questions at any point during the program, because I'll answer those questions. If you're on live, I'll answer those questions live. We can have a great conversation. If you're not watching live, if you still leave your comments and or questions, I'll answer them. I'll answer them in the comments field, and also I can address them on future live streams. So if there's something that you want, let me know. We will address that. Madeline from Atlanta, Georgia, welcome. It's great to have you here. Little known fact, I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia, and so I still have relatives. My brother Stephen is down there, an amazing guy, great. He is a rock. And so you're in good company down there. Thanks for being here. Bruce, oh my goodness, from Missouri. Well, I'm in St. Louis, Bruce, so you can't be too far away. And welcome here. Great to have you here. Love to be connected. And I appreciate that you're taking your time out of your day to join in. I have some really, really important things that I want to talk about today. And I feel that it as we're starting off 2021, everyone's thinking about New Year's resolutions and what sort of changes do I need to make. It's kind of fascinating because I've always taken the view that it's not about just at the first of the year, totally redoing things. Sometimes it could be May 17th and we need to regroup. We need to analyze what's going on, but certainly traditionally this time of the year we do that. And so what I want to share is something that I find to be incredibly powerful. Gary, I did your promo video some years ago. Yes, I remember that. And the word some might be just a slight understatement because, boy, it has been a while. But I'm so excited that you're here. That's fantastic. And Madeline, great that you're enjoying the Accountability Circle. We're going to talk about some things today that show up in the Accountability Circle, which for those of you that are watching this, it is, if you're watching this live or within a couple of days, publisher got together with Amazon and they're running a special promotion. And so the Kindle version, and you can always have it with you, of the Accountability Circle is available on Amazon for like 99 cents, which is insane. But I love the fact that we can get that extra distribution out there. So with that all said, let's get into what I want to talk about today. And then if you have questions, we'll stop at several points during this time and take those questions from you. But today, in the notes ahead of time, we said we're going to talk about the three big questions. And this is something that it's interesting. The three big questions came to me sitting in a hotel room in Atlanta, Georgia. And what had happened was this. Usually when I'm speaking for a client at one of their events, we'll have a phone call ahead of time. We'll talk about the event. I want to know who's in the audience. What is it that they're trying to accomplish? How does my message attach? And, we're doing all this stuff and that's great. And then we get to, we figure out what it is that we're going to talk about and we're fine. Well, usually it's one call, but with this client ended up having 3 calls, which is highly unusual. Major international corporation. And each time they said the same thing when I asked, I said, so what does a grand slam look like? What does it look like if I hit it out of the park for you, for your team? And they said, give our people 3 really great ideas that they can implement. And now I got to tell you, I hear this all the time. Give them 3 great ideas. And I'd like to think that my program is just chock full of content. For those of you that have been following me for a while, you know I love to give an intense amount of content that you can use, that you can apply. But for some reason, this stuck in my mind as I traveled to Atlanta for this program. And I'm sitting, I thought about it. I meditated. I prayed on this. And literally the evening before the program, it hit me. It came to me. It was as if someone was speaking in with a high volume PA system. And these 3 questions came to me that this is what I needed to talk about the next day. And I did something that night in that hotel room on Peachtree Street in Atlanta, Georgia, that I've never, ever, ever done in my life. And that is, I rewrote my speech the night before the program. And I wrote the speech around these 3 questions. And the next day, the place was off the hook. I mean, they went nuts. The response was phenomenal, which I really appreciated. I've since written about this in a couple of my books. I teach this in depth in my Pivot course, which we'll talk about later. But today, I want to share this with you because this is what I want you thinking about. This is critical. And so let's jump in and let's look at these 3 big questions, because these are the questions that we need to ask and answer if we're going to make 2021 an over-the-top success. If we're going to live that life of meaning and purpose, if we're going to build a department within our organization that is filled with meaning and purpose. If we're a leader in a company and we want to build the company with meaning and purpose so that we can attract the best and keep the best people, we have to ask and answer these 3 questions. We must have clarity. So let's take a look at that. And to do this, we're going to flame up the board and let's work back here just a little bit because, well, let's see. There we go. Looking for the blue button. Got to hit the blue button. Okay. Here's what we want to do. We want to talk about questions. And the first of the 3 big questions. 3 big questions. This is just critical. All right, first question. What do I believe? What do I believe? Now, you need to understand that in the world of business, a lot of times we'll talk about values, and in the world of individuals, we'll talk about beliefs. But the way this works is beliefs are inward facing, values are outward facing. And so in an organization, it's critical to know what we believe. We need to know what we believe as a leader in that organization, but we need to know what the organization believes as an entity. What does that organization believe? Now, those beliefs, for the most part, are going to be created through leadership. But if leadership abdicates their responsibility, then those beliefs will be established just by random thoughts throughout the organization. And they show up in the values. Now, values, well, are these values the ones that are established, defined, and defined by leadership, or is this just what's going on in the organization? It's kind of like every company has a culture. It's either a culture by design or culture by default. Culture by design is based on a specific set of values. Culture by default, anything goes. And so it's critical that we know what we believe. What do we believe as human beings? How does that show up in our values? Remember, beliefs are inward facing, values are outward facing. What do we believe as a leader? What do we believe about the people around us? What do we believe about our clients, our customers, the people that we serve? What do we believe about our suppliers? What do we believe about the community that we operate in? All of this is critical that we understand, because our action always follows belief. And so our actions are always going to follow what it is that we really believe. Now, here's the thing. We're great at saying we believe this, but then our actions tell everyone that we really believe that. Okay. We're great at saying this is what we believe on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But then Monday or Tuesday, we're in the conference room and our words and actions don't align. And I know that's true because I've heard way too many leaders tell me and use this expression, this is business. It's not personal. And that could be no further from the truth. Any interaction between two human beings is personal. How you treat me is going to be seen as personal. How I treat you is personal. We need to know what it is that we believe. Give you an example, a client of ours working on their values. Remember, values are your beliefs that are outward facing. In an organization, we focus on values. He said, we believe in communities service. I said, really? I said, that's great. He says, yes, it's so important that we have a policy that stipulates every employee gets 2 days a year to provide community service that are paid. Wonderful. My assistant asked, how many days paid did you have last year where your people provided community service? This is an organization with hundreds of employees spread out in multiple 35 locations in 4 states. And the answer to that question was 0, because community service wasn't a belief for them. It wasn't a value. It was a policy. Policies are about things. Values are around and about people. And so we helped them sculpt a value that said what their position was on community service, the importance of it. And once they articulated that and spoke of that and acted, then all of a sudden people are performing community service all over the place. I'm seeing news clips, TV clips. It was unbelievable. So it is critical that we know what we believe. In any given situation, if something is not going right for you in your life, in your business, in your department, in your relationships, you've got to stop at that point. And what we do is ask a simple question. What is it that I believe that's generating this result? What belief do I have that generates this result? What belief do I need to change? You see, many times we try to change what we do. If you change what you do, eventually you'll go back to what you've always done. It's changing how we think and what we believe that generates permanent change in what we do. Remember, I started off by saying action always follows belief. What's happening in your life? What's happening in your relationships as a spouse, as a significant other, as a parent, as a child, as a friend, as a neighbor? What is happening that is working for you? You can trace that back to a belief. What is happening that might not be working the way you want it to be? You can also track that back to a belief. What it is that you believe is probably the most important foundational piece of information that you can work on. Not just your values, but your purpose and your mission. It's critical that we have that foundational information. Okay, so that's big question number 1. What do I believe? Big question number 2. What do I focus on? What do I focus on? We need to know what it is that we focus on. When you know what you focus on, then what happens is that brings clarity for you. Now, here's the thing. We either can focus on those things that we can control, or we focus on those things that we cannot control. Now, step back from that. Let me unpackage that. When you focus on those things that you cannot control, and we know what they are. We can't control the economy. We cannot control the fact that there is a pandemic right now. We cannot control how someone else acts. We might try to, but we really can't. What can we control? We can control what we think. We can control what we believe. And we can control the actions that we take based on those beliefs. When we focus on those things that we cannot control, then what happens is we bring fear into our life, we make excuses, and we get bogged down. We just don't move ahead. When we focus on those things that we can control, then we gain back. We eliminate fear, we eliminate excuses, and we allow ourselves to make decisions and move forward. So this is really key. It's important that we know what it is that we're focused on. Are we focusing on things we cannot control? Or are we focusing on things that we can control? So when you have anxiety, when you feel stressed, when things aren't going the way that you want, step back and ask the question, am I focusing on those things that I cannot control, or am I focusing on those things that I can control? Because the things that you can't control them. By definition, you cannot control them. And that's why it's critical. When you focus on what you can control, then what happens is you're gaining the upper hand, because then you can make decisions in those areas. Look, when the pandemic hit last year, January and February for us here in our business were just incredible months. We were rocking and rolling. Not only were January and February and that first week in March excellent, we had on the books a tremendous amount of business for the balance of the year, for speeches, presentations, working with companies in consulting and guiding leadership teams through redesigning their organizational culture. I had significant work around the world lined up. And then what happened? The pandemic hit and it all went away. And I couldn't control one bit of that. And you know what? It was in that moment. It was in that moment that I could have just said, oh, look, my business is getting trashed. I've got the pandemic, and start going into a pity party. But that would have been focusing on those things that I cannot control. And it would not have been maintaining the power in the situation. What can I control? Well, what I can control is if I can't be in person to present, I can present virtually. So we built this amazing studio that allows us to work with individuals and leaders and government agencies literally around the world from my home. And the technology that we've installed is just been incredible. And so that was within my control. We could figure out how to take what we were doing in person and deliver that in an engaging way virtually. There was so many things that we could work on. Well, I took a course. I actually went to school, if you will. I took an online course on building online courses, and then I built my own online course called Pivot, which many of you have been involved in, which the feedback has been phenomenal. I finished 2 books and I've started a 3rd. These are things that I can control. And, as I'm looking at 2021 and the end of the pandemic is not here yet, there's still a lot of runway to go. And I'm not being negative, but I'm trying to be realistic. And I'm still today, I was talking with one of my accountability partners in my accountability circle. And we were talking about what is it that we can control that we need to be working on to make 2021 as impactful as we can make it. So what do I focus on? What you can control or what you can't control? And the third big question, what do I commit to? What do I commit to? Now, this is the thing. People think about commitments and they think about doing stuff, and this is where we come up short. It's not about doing stuff, because there's commitments to things and commitments to people. Commitments to things and commitments to people. All right. let's trying to figure out which camera to go to here so that I can make this easiest for you. Things and people, tactical commitments, relational commitments. The tactical committee, relational commitments go towards building relationships and accountability. Accountability is not about doing things. Accountability is about keeping commitments that are relational in nature, like a commitment to live the values, a commitment to stand by someone when all hell breaks loose, a commitment to the truth, a commitment to leading people to their potential, to be their best. The commitment to show up at 3:00 tomorrow is tactical. That's not relational. It's the relational commitments that build relationships, that build accountability. And here's what we know, that tactical goes towards productivity. Let's bring this down and let me make this full screen for you. It does not equal accountability. Whereas relational goes towards accountability, which will also help maximize productivity. This is such a key thing. This is such a major point right here in that. Do we need to do the tactical stuff? You bet we do. But it's the relational stuff that's going to make the difference. If someone on your team isn't doing the tactical stuff, then doggone it, they shouldn't be on your team. Why would you keep someone around that's not doing what they say they're going to do? And so we need to make sure that we're surrounding ourselves with people that are doing what they say they're going to do, but that are working aggressively to make, not necessarily spoken, but inside, make and keep the relational commitments. All right, I want to see if there's any questions over here, because if you have questions, I do want to answer them. Submit them in the comments. They flow through. I appreciate the thumbs up. I appreciate the positive mojo that you've been sending over here. Thank you very much for that. So, 3 big questions. What do you value? What do you believe? What do you believe? Number 1. Number 2, what do you focus on? Are you focused on those things you can control, or are you focused on those things that you can't control? And number 3, what do you commit to? It's so important to fully understand what it is that you're committed to, because when those commitments are relational commitments and you're building those bonds between people, then what happens is you're serving others, and you will find that they will want to serve you. You will be being accountable to them. You will be inspiring accountability in them. If you're looking to build your company, if you're looking to build your organization, if you're looking to build your department, if you're looking to build your community, if you're looking to build your life, it's all about the 3 big questions. I know you want to live a life of meaningful purpose. You want to build an organization of meaningful purpose. And in order to do that, you need the guidance that helps you clearly define your purpose by reflecting on your most valued life lessons. And it is through doing this that you discover what you truly believe, and how to maintain your focus on what you can control, and how to make the commitments that are going to generate results for you. All right, Madeline, let's look at this. How do you approach a conversation when someone is not being accountable to what you both committed to and they may not be aware? Okay, great question. So remember, there's 2 types of commitments. There's the tactical commitments and there's the relational commitments. Now, and we'll go deeper into this in a future program. The tactical commitments are spoken. Relational commitments, for the most part, are not. So a commitment to to have your back, to stand by you when all hell breaks loose, to lead you to your potential, to inspire you to be your best, a commitment to the truth. These are not spoken commitments. These are things that we take on, and as leaders, they make us who we are. But the tactical commitments, that's a different story. And I think what you're referring to is a tactical commitment. So, Madeline, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name properly, the relationship and the structure of the relationship is going to position you to react in the appropriate way. So, for instance, if I report to you and we both committed to something, I've committed to something, and I'm not being responsible. And see, we're responsible for things, we're accountable to people. We use the word accountability sometimes in a way that maybe we shouldn't do it. If I'm reporting to you, and this is a formal structure in a business, and I don't keep my commitments, then you need to have a conversation with me. And if this happens again, then you kind of need to say, look, this happened a couple of times. If it happens again, then probably it's going to be best for you to go someplace where that kind of behavior is acceptable. And you know what I'm talking about. Now, what if it's a friend? Now, see, a friend or peer-to-peer relationship is totally different than if you have seniority in an organization and someone reports to you. And this is where it gets kind of tricky. I always believe there's a right way to say things and a wrong way. I always believe that we can put things in a positive focus. You know, one of my struggles is being there on time. And it wasn't until someone once shared something with me that really changed my whole attitude. And basically he said this, Sam, you can either be early or you can be late. You can never be on time. And I'm like, whoa, what do you mean by that? Well, let's say we're going to meet at 12 o'clock. Can you be there at 12 o'clock? Well, I mean, 12 on the nose, because as soon as it's 12 and 1 second, then it's after 12, technically. And if it's 11:59, it's before 12. So showing up to the second at 12 o'clock is almost impossible. Do you want to be early or do you want to be late? Wow, that was a game changer. Now, I had a friend that I used to meet for lunch, and I was always trying to get one extra thing done. And I'd show up 5 minutes after, 12:05, 12:07, 12:10, 12:03. I was never there waiting for him. And finally, one day he said, Sam, look, if you don't want to meet for lunch, that's fine. But I need you to respect my time. And you know what? That really hurt because I realized that what he was saying was true. Let's go back to what we've talked about today, Madeline. What I believed was it wasn't important for me to be there on time. Now, anybody can say anything to the contrary, but if I believed it was important to be there on time at 12 o'clock at the latest, I would have been there. But my actions told you otherwise. My actions told my friend that his time wasn't as important as my time. And that's not where I wanted to be. And so I had to take it upon myself to make that correction. But he said something to me. He said it from the heart. It was heartfelt. Now, could I have been ticked off? Could I have said, I don't need this friendship? Could I have reacted in a negative way rather than taking that inspiration and working to improve? You bet. And in that situation, if I'd taken it in a negative way and I'd reacted in a negative way, maybe it wouldn't have been in his best interest to keep me around as a close friend, ally, peer, whatever the situation. And so, thank you, Madeline. I appreciate that. So you need to evaluate what your relationship is with the other person. I always believe that to be our very best in life, and you mentioned before you're reading the Accountability Circle, you're going to find this in that book. To be our very best in life, we have to be willing to allow others to help us, and we need to be helping others to be their very best. And it's only when both are happening that we can be our very best. So if you can have a low impact, if it's a peer relationship, low impact conversation, and hopefully generate a positive result. And if you don't, maybe that's not the person that you need to be hanging out with and making commitments with. Because when you hang out with people that don't keep their commitments, it's just going to pull you down. So I hope that helps answer that question. Hey, look, I want to share something with everybody today because it is coming up, and that is that we are going to be relaunching our Pivot course within a couple of weeks here towards the end of January. Where people that are on the wait list right now will be the first to hear about when we launch it. It will be powerful. You can go to mypivotlife.com, put your name, email in, and then you'll get notice of when we go to launch. And this is something you're going to really, really want to be aware of, because it's in Pivot that we will be stepping you through in detail how to determine what it is that is your source for your beliefs, what it is that are your non-negotiable values, how to identify and put in writing your purpose, your mission, so that you can align your activities with your purpose and mission, because that's where you will achieve fulfillment. Understanding the importance of mindfulness and bringing focus in your life, understanding the 10 commitments of accountability. It's going to be 8 weeks, deep dive. It's a phenomenal program. I would love to have you with me. Go to mypivotlife.com, get your name on the waiting list so that you will hear about it in just a few short weeks when we open up and relaunch this course. For all of you that have been here today, I greatly appreciate it. Whether you showed up live or whether you're in the, watching us recorded. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. I will answer questions in the comments. If there's content that you want me to talk about specifically on a future live stream, put that in the comments, and I'll make a point of building that into the live stream. And just remember, we're responsible for things, but we're accountable to people. Accountability is keeping our commitments to people. The commitments I'm referring to are relational commitments. Accountability is the highest form of leadership. Let's continue to work together to build a more accountable world. I'll see you next time. Thank you.